So now we're going to get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of mental health. We're all nuts and bolts here. So these are kind of your buckets that you need. So these are your loins of your mind, essentially. The areas we want to make sure we're taking care of to help us have true mental health. Now here's mental health. I think we often view it in only the relational world. Okay, so my mental health is based off what's going on in my work, what's going on with my family, what's going on with my friends, what's going on with society and the government. So how, all these other factors, right? And we ignore often the part of mental health that we have 100% control over most of the time. How we take care of ourselves. Okay, this is an organ that is not just floating around in space. It is in your body. It is an organ that needs things, just like all your other organs. It needs proper nutrients. It needs certain parts of your life to go a certain way if it's going to be healthy. Now that's just opposite of, or not opposite, but separate from all the other stuff in the world that goes on that we can't control. So this is the girding up of our loins, getting us ready to be able to tackle these things. So the 6 pillars of mental health: sunlight and darkness, but sunlight, sleep, movement, social connection, stress control, and nutrition. If you want to have a strong mind, a healthy brain, these things have to be prioritized properly, despite even their other good health effects. There's nothing more powerful if something's healthy for your mind and for your brain. So let's get into these a little bit. Sunlight. If you've been around here too long, you've heard us talk about light exposure. More specifically, in the morning. Okay, so they're finding a very strong connection between your circadian rhythm and your happiness and your mood. Okay? It is almost a surefire way to make somebody down and depressed when you mess with that system, when you mess with their sleep cycle, when you mess with their light exposure, their darkness exposure. We need light and we need darkness. And we need it at what times do you think? When do we need light? When it's light outside. Yeah. When do we need darkness? When it's dark outside. Wow. Who created that? You know what I mean? Like what we need, it's like, there it is. It was created for, and science is only going to prove what is already true. Science is not the discovery of new things. It's the discovery of things that already are. We know, we have found that if you kind of flip that on its head, if you have darkness, half the day, if you don't see light in the morning, it has a negative effect on your mental health. So especially in the morning, you need minimum 15 minutes of unfiltered light, not from bulbs, but outside, from the sun, even a cloudy day. 15 minutes outside, not through a windshield. Take your glasses off. Those all have they all have UV filters in it. You need to be outside and you need to look at the sky. 15 minutes in the morning. And then at night, you need darkness. Our brains need darkness. Not kind of darkness. Not like a light on in the hallway, a light on in the room, 4 little lights on the TV, and all. You need darkness. This is critical to set your brain up for on and off cycle, healing, on and off. The easiest way to get better sleep is to look at the sun in the morning, because it lets you know when your day started. Your brain knows when your day started. If your brain doesn't know what's night and what's day, And that's easy to do. We work inside a lot of times, we drive in cars. Sometimes the only exposure we have to the outside world is walking from our house or our apartment to our car, and then from our car to our work, and then from our work back into our house. That's it. And a lot of times we're wearing sunglasses or glasses, and we get no exposure to natural UV light. We wonder, why can't I sleep? Why do I sleep and I'm still tired when I wake up? Your brain doesn't know what's going on. You have to help it set up that circadian rhythm, which is very closely tied to your mental health, your mental wellness, and how happy you are. So we need to look at the sky. And it's a good time to do it at any time. If the sun's out and you haven't done it, even though, oh no, it's not morning time, go outside. Don't stare at the sun. Do not stare at the sun. If it's uncomfortable, if it's too bright, look as close as you can while it's comfortable, and you can get, in 15, 20 minutes, you can get what you need to help set yourself up. Sunlight is important. Avoiding light at night and seeking light during the day may be a simple and effective non-pharmacological means of broadly improving mental health. This is researched over and over and over again. It improves your mental health by something as simple as be in the day when it's day and be in the night when it's night. Have you ever thought about, like, why isn't it just daylight all the time? Why do we need night? Like, why?
Or something.
You know, apparently it's good for us. Come to find out, it's essential for us. Pretty amazing. Sleep, rest. So your darkness routine, let's talk about that. Who in here has trouble sleeping? Don't be ashamed, it's very, very common. Sleep issues are extremely common. Now, sleep issue, according to research, if you have a sleep issue, that is the best indicator that you are being exposed to chronic stress. Not just stress, not just middle of the road, stressful time, but that means chronic stress. Now, there's a lot of different factors they looked at to tell, well, when is somebody stressing too much? When have they been stressing too long? When is it unhealthy to stress? They have found that once you have issues going to sleep or staying asleep, that is one of the most accurate ways to know if you're chronically stressed. Stress too long, too often, too much. Because stress isn't bad, but chronic stress is bad. So that's a side note. So darkness routine, what should this look like? The best rule of thumb, they say, is you should go to bed around the same time each night, within an hour plus or minus. So let's say your bedtime's 10 o'clock. 9 o'clock, perfect. 11 o'clock, perfect. But if you go to bed at 9 o'clock one night, and then 12:30 the next night, it's going to negatively affect your mental health. Even if you slept the same amount of time. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Even if you still got 8 hours of sleep, you're gonna wake up the next day feeling off. Feeling like, why am I so tired? I slept till 10 o'clock today. I still feel like I could go back to sleep. Because your routine was thrown off. That circadian rhythm was thrown off. So you wanna try and be in that rhythm. But once again, if that's a struggle for you, stress, which we'll get to, stress, that's a sign you're struggling with stress. Movement. Now, what I have, and what we have talked about here in this building, time and time again, the best exercise, bar none, of any exercise you could do, is the one you will do. Mm-hmm. We are not going to get caught up in the minutia of what type of exercise class you should be in, how far you should be walking or running. But you need to do something. That is proven. They haven't really been able to prove like which style of exercise is better or worse, but we know you have to move your body. And what if I told you, here's this natural supplement. It's free, okay? And it will decrease your depression, your anxiety, your moodiness by 50%. Slash it in half. No cost. It's exactly what exercise does. exactly what movement does. I don't even like using the word exercise. A lot of images come up in people's brains when you hear the word exercise. Movement. And one of the easiest and one of the best is, what do you guys think? Walking. 3 to 5 times per week, 45 minutes each time. Go for a walk. This is good for your back. This is good for your knees. This is good for your heart. This is good for your lungs. And it's incredibly good for your brain. It's as simple as that. Now, this is something, once again, we used to do without some joker like me telling you to walk. Right? So, a walking routine. Now, here's my advice when it comes to routines. Sleep routines, daylight routines, exercise routines, nutrition routines. All of these things. Sometimes, depending on your personality, routines are hard for some people. To get in a rhythm of kind of doing these things. You might get good for a week, and then the next week you're like, well, fell off the wagon again, yeah. But I have to involve someone or something else in that routine for me to be consistent with it. Okay? So like having a dog that needs to be walked is a great example of this. When you have less choice in the matter, having animals to take care of, I'm not a morning person per se, but I don't have a choice.
You gotta get out.
I literally have a cow mooing at me every morning through the window, like, get out here, I need water, or I need this. So if you can shape some things in your life that aren't just, well, I have to do this, I have to do that. That's just pure willpower, and that's tough. That's tough for me anyways. So I like to build my life where other things are kind of dependent on me to stick with that routine. And not to be, real stringent about it, but that has worked for me. Create some things to help you. So that's as far as we'll go on the exercise talk. Because if you're not doing that, if you're not simply doing that, walking 3 to 5 times per week, 45 minutes to an hour each time, if you're not, just do that. Just do it. It will help you feel better. It'll help you feel better right away. Immediately. And even better if you do it with somebody else. It's pretty amazing how simple things are when it comes to, but it's tough. What pulls us away from this? Is it easy to go for a walk this time of year? No, right? There are a million things to do. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's rainy, right? Have a good coat. Have a good hat. Have some waterproof shoes. No such thing as bad weather, just improper clothing.
Yeah,
That's a good homeschool phrase we learn. We've got 4 kids that we homeschool. You got to go outside every day if you homeschool 4 kids, no matter what's going on. You just got to have the right coat. You got to have the right shoes. And people go outside in Siberia. And we're here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and saying you can't go for a walk. Got to get a little tougher. Social connection. Now, this has been studied and talked about for quite some time now when it comes to mental health, social connection. And I think a lot of times this point can do more harm than good, especially if you're somebody with poor social connection. If you're somebody who's lonely. If you're somebody who doesn't like to get out very much. If you're somebody who doesn't naturally have 20 friends to do stuff with. You see this, you see that the research has proven that there's like no quicker way to speed up death than being separated from people. And you're like, well, goodness gracious, kill me now. I don't want to be around anybody. But what they find is it's not about the amount of social connection you have. It's not about how many friends you have. It's not about how many activities you can do in 1 week. But it is important to have at least one person. One person in your life that you trust, that you can confide in, that you can talk about your emotions, your angers, your hurts, Somebody that you don't have a fear that this person is going to use what I say against me. This person is in it for themselves. That is extremely valuable for your mental health, to have at least that partner in your life. So if you don't feel like you have that, I mean, that is something that's worthy to seek out. That is, and even if that pushes you out of your comfort zone, and you got to maybe get in a group to find just that one person, because that's how a lot of people are. I would say that's more my natural personality, not to have 20 good friends, but maybe have a couple really good friends, and have really kind of meaningful relationships. And when you do things, they're impactful. But so I think that's an important note on this social connectedness thing. Don't feel like you need to be this social butterfly. That is not the case. But you do need a relationship with somebody other than yourself. And the best way to view it, it's a protective layer. Your social connection with somebody or some group or something, it's like armor against life that will inevitably come. If you don't have anybody to bounce things off of, you become vulnerable. You can get in your own head. You can talk negative about yourself. And you don't have that person to say, you're talking crazy. Like, that ain't you. That's not how you are. Like, pull up your pants. Let's gird up our loins here. You need that supporting person. Nutrition. This is huge for the mind. Like, we get it for every other tissue in our body, right? We know these foods might cause atherosclerosis, and these foods might cause cancer, and so we've been kind of inundated with nutrition and its bad effects on our health and our body. We don't talk much about nutrition and our brain. So what are they calling? There's a new name for Alzheimer's now.
Dementia.
No.
Diabetes 3, right?
Yep, type 3 diabetes.
Well, it's not
So they're finding it's, especially if you have a long-term blood sugar issue, it's almost always going to lead to Alzheimer's dementia. So it's almost like the final stage of diabetes, blood sugar regulation is Alzheimer's. And we have an epidemic of that in this country. And Alzheimer's is growing at a rapid rate that they think is going to bankrupt our country in 25 years. Wow. That's why it's your health of your body. That's what your brain is, the most powerful organ in your body. It uses the most calories, uses the most energy. Think of what it does. It controls and coordinates everything else. It has a big, big job. So you do need to fuel it properly. You do need to eat. You gotta eat for your brain. Now, here's the thing, a lot of people aren't eating enough. Like, whoa, a lot of people say, well, I'm eating plenty. I know that. A lot of people are not eating enough of the right foods to fuel your brain. And so you might be calorie sufficient, but nutritionally starving. It's important to eat quality foods, especially for your brain and your well-being. And here's a fantastic tip when it comes to food and your mindset. Keep a food feeling journal. So you can write down, I had spaghetti last night. How did I feel afterwards? And not just physically, mentally.
Good, because I like spaghetti.
right.
I was very happy after spaghetti. Now, not just 5 minutes after. Let's look at, an hour, maybe even then, like if you have it for dinner, how do you feel when you wake up the next day? Are you joyful? Are you happy? Are you down and tired? You might find you have a bad response to certain meals, to certain foods mentally. That is, but if you have no way of recognizing that, it's tough. It's really tough to know, and it can be different person to person. Some people might process certain carbohydrates just great. Some people may get in just a cranky, irritable mood afterwards. What is the main reason why some foods might make you irritable afterwards?
Allergies and tolerance.
Did you say?
Yeah. That is definitely possible. Yeah, if you're walking around bloated up all the time, you're not going to be too pleasant to be
Sugar
around.
crush.
But it's sugar.
Yeah.
Now, not like just table sugar, but that carbohydrate. It's when your blood sugar goes up. Okay, your body does a really good job of bringing it back down. Okay, to save your life. If it stays up, you die. So it brings it down, and the quicker and higher the spike up is, the quicker and sharper the spike down is. Okay, so a donut. Okay, not the end of the world if you eat a donut, but you need to recognize that your body, that's going to go glucose straight into your bloodstream up. Your body's going to have a correct response, and it's going to bring it right back down. Okay, when your blood sugar your body wants your blood sugar to stay like this, fairly even, right? Floating around that dot. That's how our body wants everything to do. But so it'll do that. But when it does that, there's parts of your body that say, "What the heck is going on with me?" Why? So let's say this is a line, right? Your blood sugar goes up because you have a bad meal. The set point in the middle is where your body likes to stay. Right across here. It goes up. It doesn't come back down to here. Okay? It goes up and then it goes down here. What does your body want to do now that it's down here at the bottom?
Bring it back up.
Bring it back up. I need chips. I need a soda. I need something. I'm having, hunger pangs, all that stuff. And then most people just do this all day long. And they're angry and they're irritable and they're tired and they're hungry.
Because the more carbs you eat, the more
More you want to eat, because your body is constantly doing this. It drops down, and then your brain will tell you, you better get your blood sugar back up, you're going to die. So it forces you to eat. That's why we want to try and float along here, along the middle. Blood sugar coming up, not the end of the world. But if it's chronically going up and down, that's when you get something called insulin resistance diabetes. After you do that year after year after year after year. Stress. We talked about kind of the rule of thumb, knowing if you are chronically stressed. Because they have found that this is very important. When I say the word stress, very few people think good thoughts. Right? Is stress inevitable?
Yes.
Absolutely. We are designed to deal with stress. We have a whole system in our body that's designed to deal with stress. Stress is healthy. Stress boosts your immune system. Stress activates certain parts of your body to help do what it needs to do. Now, if a tiger walked into the room, we're all going to have a stress response. A proper, healthy stress response. Okay? Now, the problem comes when, for whatever reason, the tiger's always in the room. It's not really there, but there are things in your life that it's like a tiger always there, right by you. That is chronic stress. That is not healthy. That's when you start to see the negative effects of stress. That's when it affects your sleep. That's when it affects your mood, your energy levels. That's when it affects, your muscular system. That's when it affects aging. That's when it affects all that negative stuff. Short-term stress, not a problem at all. You don't want to not stress. That would not be good. You don't want to live in a bubble. That is unhealthy. So I would say in this country, do you think, we stress more or less than?
Oh, more.
This is a stressful place to live because remember what we talked about, that graph? Everything wants to stress you out because you need to be doing something other than what you're doing. You need to be doing this more and you need to look that way more. Everything that's marketing.
Yeah.
It's marketing. We live in a great society for marketing. It's commerce. It's how our country's built, right? Make people think they need something. And you can do that. And so we have a lot of advertising, but we have to have our wits about us when it comes to that type of stuff. We gotta say that might be great for some people, but I don't need that. So we have to control that. Now, here's some tools and tactics for this stress portion. And we're getting close to being done here. Well, if you guys haven't noticed a theme, I haven't really talked about anything that's revolutionary, that's new on the block. You know, this new thing. Right? We've talked about the sun, we've talked about sleep, we've talked about moving your body. Like, we talked about being with other people. So these tools and tactics for stress, they're gonna be very similar to that. They're things that you already know how to do. So I want you to kind of go back to when you were a kid. And let's say you had some stress when you were a child. Okay? And you know, that can be like a bad situation. I mean, and things stress me out like when my mom told me to do something I didn't want to do, you know, that made me mad or something like that. But think about how you responded as a 8, 9, 10-year-old to that stressor in your life. What did you do? Just throw some things at me. Cry? Yeah.
Yell.
Scream? Yeah.
Hide.
As a child.
Go somewhere and hide?
I kept standing up even though I was knocked down.
Getting back up?
Yeah,
This is great.
literally.
Yeah?
She did.
Avoid it.
Yeah, kind of try and stay away from it.
Yeah.
When I was a, I'd like to throw things and stuff, like I would get angry and kick stuff and, or take a hike, you know, I'm leaving and, you know, the whole I'm running away thing. Now, somebody said crying. This is just amazing to me. Let's say there were a child in the room that you knew had just went through something very, very hard. They're very scared and they're crying. Is there a different way that a child cries versus an adult?
Yes.
It's like completely different.
Yeah.
Okay? So who has ever heard a kid do this?
Oh, yeah.
When's the last time you did that? I can't think of a time that I got so upset that, like, as an adult, that I did that where you're just trying to take a breath and it's uncontrollable. You can't, it just overcomes you because you're so upset. Okay. That is one of the best research proven ways you can reduce stress in the moment. It's called the physiological sigh. Something we were born knowing how to do. Now, when that happened to you, how did it make you feel?
What, when you sigh?
Yeah, when you're doing that, you're like, oh gosh, don't do that. That's embarrassing, right? Because usually you're like done crying at that time and you're like trying to get it back together and you still like can't even breathe normal.
I felt good.
I felt so much better. Right. So that type of breathing pattern is called the physiological sigh, and it calms your nervous system down. It's the quickest way to actually calm your nervous system down. So you can practice this. You can do this on your own. And essentially what it is you take a deep breath in, like as far as you think you can take it in, and then you stop, and then you take another couple short breaths in, real quick, and then let it out. So it'll look like this. It really presses your lungs to expand as much as possible. It increases the oxygen going to your brain. It gets rid of CO2. And it elicits a vagal nerve response, which calms down like every organ in your body. It's truly amazing, and it's something we were born knowing how to do. But I know me, I suppress something like that. I would never want to do that in a room full of people, right? And all these other things we're talking about that we would probably do as a kid. What did I want to do when I got angry or mad as a kid?
Throw things.
I wanted to move. I wanted to do something. I'm not gonna sit there on my rear end because I'm upset. I need to do something. I need to move. I need to move my body. I need to express this feeling that's inside me. I need to express it physically, which is another fantastic tactic to manage your stress. If you are stressing, which it's gonna happen, right? But if you combine that with a lack of movement, it's really, really tough for your body to process that stress. Take a hike, go for a walk. That's even an acute stress reliever. Yes, it's one of those good pillars of just daily movement, but if you're in that moment, literally walk. And that does two things. You said hide, right? So movement as well as, oh, look at this guy. He got it all figured out, doesn't he?
Is that Jimmy Buffett?
That is Jimmy Buffett.
That's what I thought.
Now, he had a great song called
Wasted away again.
Girl, you know what was going on.
Changes in
Attitude.
Changes in
Attitude.
which means you get to a different place to change how you feel, right? Now, we don't want to be necessarily always chasing that next vacation or the beach to feel it, but psychologically, it's proven that if you just get out of that same spot, you're literally standing in with your emotions. If you move to a new place geographically, it allows you to process things better. So if you're just sitting at your desk at work and just email, or whatever, conversation, sometimes you need to take a minute. Sometimes you need to go hide for a minute. Sometimes you need to go walk. Sometimes you need to say, I'm running away, and storm down the street and process it. These are all things we used to do as a child that we suppress those things. That's not acceptable to do at work, just to get up and go walk for 15 minutes. It needs to be. It needs to be. You're going to look funny doing your breathing exercise. Who cares? You're keeping your sanity.
In the bathroom.
Go do it in the bathroom.
Hide and
Go
do it
for
in
a
the
walk and do your breathing exercises in the sun.
Yeah.
Look, you see how that's crazy, right? Have a cry. Let it out. And you might be doing that breathing without even thinking about it. And you feel better afterwards. And then what do you do after you've cried it out typically? I know what I like to do.
Take a nap.
You fall asleep.
Yeah.
And you sleep good.
Relax.
That's right. So remember when I said we're all just babies? We're all like, when we start to think of ourselves differently as we're adults now. We don't cry. We don't have to go for a walk. We don't have to move when we get angry. We don't have to talk about our feelings. That's the recipe for disaster. No, we still have a neurological need for all of these things. And we need to integrate them into our life. Go for a walk. Now, here's when it comes to walking, if you ever need to have a conversation with somebody that you're not looking forward to,
Walk with them.
walk with them. Whether that's a kid, a spouse, so if I'm gonna have a conversation with you, Rachel, I come up like this. And I said, we need to talk this out right now. I would not feel good. Yeah, oh my God. But if we stood shoulder to shoulder and walked down the street and just walked for miles as we talked.
Sure.
Walk down the hallway, whatever.
Yeah, whatever, walk and talk. Let's walk and talk. You do that with a 4-year-old. You do it with a 50-year-old. It breaks down barriers. You're both doing something that's good for your mental health, and you're able to express yourself without the fear of that judgment because you're not even looking at the person. And communication happens so much better. So walk and talk, walk and talk. Write stuff down. Go ahead.
We just wanted to add something
Uh-huh.
to that, so it's helpful, I think. a not new, but more newly used type of therapy called EMDR. Long story short, it's about engaging both parts of your brain, and it's using bilateral stimulation to do that. And so the person who created EMDR figured out that process by walking. And so how, like, when you move your right side, you're engaging your left side of your brain, moving your left side, you're engaging your right side of your brain. You're physically forcing your entire brain to work while you're walking. And so if you're walking and talking, then it's
Helps you dig a little
yeah,
deeper
it's
and
changing
recognize
barriers. If
things.
something's more emotional, then it helps you to use that logic.
Yeah,
Fun facts.
science proves it. Who journaled or had a diary as a kid? Right, that's another like childlike thing. You had your lock on it, you hid it under the bed, so you can write stuff down. But we typically don't do that as an adult.
I just got a new journal.
Good for you, I did too. I mean, this is important for everybody, but for some people, for some personality types, and I'm one of them, this is like crucial. It allows you, that putting pen or pencil to paper of your own thoughts is therapy in and of itself. Even if you're writing down those feelings. So-and-so made me feel angry, they made me feel jealous, whatever you're feeling. Not, once again, we don't want to equate our feelings with who we are, but if we can get them out, it helps us realize what is actually happening to us. Why are we feeling this way? So write stuff down. This is a huge mental benefit to you.
Do you journal?
I do. Not as often as I would like, right? Because I'm not great with routines. Now, I preached on Wednesday. I had this talk today. So I've been sitting at a desk and I've been writing. And for the past 2 weeks, I've been journaling. Not because I forced myself to do it, but because I had these external events, these external forces that led me to almost a necessity. I had to write. And I was sitting there, well, this is so easy to journal right now. So now I'm thinking, what could I do to create something where it's almost gonna force me to journal and sit and write? Do I need to speak more? Do I need to preach more? Do I need to whatever in order to keep me engaged in that activity that I know is healthy for me? Other than saying, I always need a journal. Oh, I forgot to journal. And I'm kicking myself around all the time, right? So now how beneficial is that? So in my opinion, it's good to try and create your life in a way that actually gravitationally pushes you towards those things that are healthy, not just relying on your own willpower. Because I'm weak. I'm gonna have my weak moments, right? So it's good to set up some barriers for you. Now somebody said like, you said you get up, right? You fall down, you get up. And I think this is huge. One of the most powerful things you can do is get up. Get up and do something. In scripture, the word go appears 1,542 times. Wow. Stay appears 62 times. 25 times over, scripture tells you to get up and go. Not that we shouldn't stay sometimes, but it's pretty clear that more often than not, just staying right where you're at typically isn't going to lead to things getting better. You might need to get off your rear end and do something about it. And that's trust me, we've all been there where it's like, I just don't want to think about it anymore. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. But once again, we're not on that graph that pauses, right? We're traveling through. We're walking through that path. And sometimes you stumble on that path and you get back up. You walk some more, you stumble again, you get back up. You veer left, you go back right. Maybe somebody holds your hand for a little while. That's how you look at it. Who's heard of James Eugene Carey, the famous philosopher?
Nope.
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. I love it when people reinvent themselves. And like I said, we've talked about, like, maybe there's some famous people that are talking weird, and famous people kind of go off the deep end sometimes and go crazy. And I mean, I don't think anybody in here can imagine what it's like to be a billionaire. Have almost every single soul in the world know your name and your face and every work you've done. And that's a trip, okay? And I think it's cool, somebody like Jim Carrey, he's now a thinker. That's what he does. He's not an actor anymore. He's a thinker. And he thinks all the time. He paints and he thinks. And he's got some really, in my opinion, wise thoughts on life. And I think he has a perspective that I never want to have. I don't want to have the perspective of writing that top line of everything you've ever thought you wanted, you have, and feeling the exact same as you did when you had none of it, and wondering, what the heck? I thought I would feel this way, or I thought I would feel that way, and I don't feel any of it. If anything, I feel worse now because I feel like I've been duped. So he's been there, and now he gets to look at it from a different perspective. So you guys have been great today. I hope one little thing has been helpful. I hope something is positive shift in your life, because you guys are important to other people. You guys are important in your family. You're important to this society. You're important to you. You're important to God. You're important to me. And I think this is a very worthy conversation that we're having here today. And I thank you all for being a part of it. And I want to leave you with this in part.
Because life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Sometimes I think that's the only thing that's important, really. It's just letting each other know we're here. Reminding each other that we're part of a larger self. Fear is going to be a player in your life, but you get to decide how much. You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here, and the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear. So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying, I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. I watched the effect of my father's love and humor and how it altered the world around me, and I thought, that's something to do. That's something worth my time. How will you serve the world? What do they need that your talent can provide? That's all you have to figure out. The effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is. My choosing to free people from concern got me to the top of a mountain. Look where I am. Look what I get to do. The only one I hadn't freed was myself. And that's what my search for identity needed. I wondered who I'd be without my fame. Who would I be if I said things that people didn't want to hear? I did something that made people present their best selves to me wherever I go. And that peace that we're after, lies somewhere beyond personality, beyond the perception of others, beyond invention and disguise, even beyond effort itself. You can join the game, fight the wars, play with form all you want, but to find real peace, you have to let beyond. Your need to stand in the way of the light that shines through this form. Risk being seen in all of your glory. I've often said that I wished people could realize all their dreams and wealth and fame, and so that they could see that it's not where you're going to find your sense of completion. Like many of you, I was concerned about going out into the world and doing something bigger than myself, until someone smarter than myself made me realize that there is nothing bigger than myself. You won't be feeling the world, you'll be felt by it, you'll be embraced by it. Now I'm always at the beginning. I have a reset button, and I ride that button constantly. Once that button is functioning in your life, there's no story that the mind can create that will be as compelling. The imagination is always manufacturing scenarios, both good and bad, and the ego tries to keep you trapped in the multiplex of the mind. Our eyes are not viewers, they are also projectors. They're running a second story over the picture that we see in front of us all the time. Fear is writing that script. And the working title is Will Never Be Enough. No matter what you gain, ego will not let you rest. It will tell you you cannot stop until you've left an indelible mark on the earth, until you've achieved immortality. How tricky is this ego? And it will tempt us with the promise of something we already possess. It's just about letting the universe know what you want and working toward it while letting go of how it comes to pass. Your job is not to figure out how it's going to happen for you, but to open the door in your head. And when the door opens in real life, just walk through it. Because there's always doors opening. They keep opening. And when I say life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, I really don't know if that's true. I'm just making a conscious choice to perceive challenges as something beneficial so that I can deal with them in the most productive way. You'll come up with your own style. That's part of the fun. You are ready and able to do beautiful things in this world. And after you walk through those doors today, you will only ever have two choices: love or fear. Choose love, and don't ever let fear turn you against your playful heart.
Wow. That was awesome.
That was great.
Thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thanks, Dr.
weekend.
Callahan.
Saturday.